We're coming up on the Aiea Trail right here. See right there, Aiea Loop Trail. Coming on. So far, it is muddy. A little bit, not too bad. What does it say? It says, attention, please brush off your shoes. Spray the bottoms with the, okay. For hiking, stop the spread of, I don't know, yada. Alright, do not start after 4 p.m. Takes 2 or 3 hours for this. So, go ahead and get started on it. It's nice and cool up here because we're high up in the mountains. So it's a little bit cooler than most trails. Walk down here. Here's this part right here. This is kind of muddy. Should be a little slippery. Let's go through it. Just be careful with my step. It's a little muddy, but not too bad. Not too bad at all. Alright, made it through that one. Alright. Beautiful area. Keep on going over here. It's nice and serene. Smells like bug spray around here, like someone, like citronella or something like that. Keep the bugs off. You can see there being a lot of bugs or mosquitoes at nighttime due to the it being so wet up here. The ground is relatively wet. Beautiful trees. Look at that one right there. You can see a little bit of the erosion down here. The roots are being exposed quite a bit due to the heavy trafficked area that this is. It's a very popular trail. Well, this Aiea Trail, is a moderate trail, which means that it's not too difficult. So far, I haven't come across anything too challenging. Seems like a good walk. Some moderate inclines, nothing too drastic yet to be determined. So come look at this right here. So you see that? See the erosion It's happening a little bit. Very picturesque. Looks like we're coming up on our first lookout. Slight incline. The roots exposed a little bit. Now the track right here looks like red clay all along. Slippery when wet. Look at the exposed roots. Now this is our first lookout right here. Should be somewhat scenic. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful area. Look at that. It's the first, but I think it gets a little bit better than this. Just exposed. Goes on. How you doing? Not too many people on the trail yet. It's always nice to see pine trees, which are not native to Hawaii. Usually in tropical climates, you don't get trees with a lot of oily sap in them. You see mostly the oily, sappy trees, colder climates. It's like an offbeat trail right there. I would suggest using some sort of hiking shoe on this trail because it is somewhat wet, slippery, and then being up so high, and on this particular part of the island, you'll get a lot of moisture, especially up this high. I see the couple in front of me. They have some trail hiking shoes, trail running shoes, excuse me, which is good for running on trails like this. Now this would be an ideal type of trail to go running on with those types of shoes. Looks like some sort of stump or tree that fell down, and they cut it along the way. Well-maintained path. Hi.
Hi.
It's a moderate trail, nothing too steep as of yet. Just taking one stride in front of the other. So far, it just seems like a really nice walk. No hills. It's starting to rain a little bit. Slight mist. Nothing too hard. Seems like at times there could be a lot of rain down here. Looks like there's some sort of view up there.
Go down and I'll cross the valley.
There's a view up there. Go up. I've been told there's a view up on top, so I'm gonna go up there. See what it looks like using the roots as steps, since the mud is very slippery. And here we go. This is somewhat of a view. You can see in the distance a little bit. Not too spectacular, but indeed it is a view. Try to make my way down. Slippery. Slippery. Just trying to watch my steps. Indeed, it is slippery. So if you're on this, wear some sort of shoes with traction. Don't need to bring out spikes or anything, but know that you will need something with traction. And the trail goes on. Hear the birds in the background doing what birds do best, and that's chirp. Starting to get a little warm due to walking, not necessarily because of the hike. It hasn't been an aggressive hike at all. It's like an offbeat trail right there. Don't know where that goes to. I'm going to stick on the main path. Just keep going. Get a little bit of erosion and the moss on the side. Very beautiful. Look at this. Like how the roots protrude outside soil and the moss growing on it. Not too many people on the trail, just a few people here and there. If a couple with children gave you any idea of how difficult the trail is, they brought their children on the trail and have packs to carry them. Lady front, carrying with hiking poles, making her way. It's a little obstacle right here. Looks like some tree fell down due to wind. They haven't quite yet got to it to clear it up, but it's not too hard to navigate through it. Clear opening. Beautiful. If you notice, there's a lot of power lines that go through some of these hikes in the mountains, and they're to distribute the power across the island. So they have high-powered power lines that zigzag through the mountainous area. Trees. Beautiful trees. Now if you look, there's a drop off right here. It's not one that probably be the end of you, but there is a steep drop off where you can get injured. So with the slippery walking area, you have to be somewhat careful or mindful that you could fall down there. Now the trail's wide enough to where you'd have to be extremely negligent in order to fall off on that particular portion of the path. A little nice opening right here. Opening on this side as well. Beautiful views right here. Very beautiful views. So far it's a great walk, but nothing too challenging. I'm always quite fascinated when going on the trails and you see magnificent trees like this one. You see a lot of trees have fallen down, and the staff that maintains the trail gets out here as soon as they can to actually clear the path. They bring chainsaws to get the fallen trees out of the way. And I'm sure it takes quite an amount of maintenance to maintain these trails, because this is nature. Things fall, things rot. Look at that right there. Starting to get somewhat of an incline. Not too hefty. A little slippery right here. You can see how well this path is maintained right here. Look at that. A little opening for you. Slippery right here. So far, I haven't encountered any bugs yet. Maybe a couple of flies at the beginning. But just walking around, no mosquitoes have I encountered yet. So I did see people with regular shoes on this trail, but I'm sure they have some issues with slipping, but you can get through the trail with the regular tennis shoes, but it might be somewhat challenging. Oh, it's a beautiful view right here. Come look at this. Hey, how you doing? Doing well. It's a beautiful view. Look at that. A nice valley. See the clouds moving fast across the mountains and the valleys. Very picturesque. Catch a little breath, and it's back onto the trail. And have a good one. I guess this is where it starts to get really beautiful. Now, about the trail, it is wet and it is mud, but it's compacted to where it's a hard surface but slippery. So you're not sinking in the mud, but you will slip if you're not careful with your footing. Some people brought their pups on the hike. Seems like pups can actually handle the hike somewhat just fine. So if you're wondering if bring dogs on it, there's a person with their dog up here walking.
Thank you.
I've been in a German because Holger's always telling me to say a single accent. I think someone wants to talk. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you going today?
Doing well, doing well.
Good.
Pup seems to be enjoying the hike so far. Hey, buddy. Look at that tree leaning over. More views. Now the trail, what's nice about this, there's people on it, so it's not, so if something happens to you, you fall, slip, and need help, there'll be someone coming around not too long. Some trees falling down. Now coming up on the left side, you'll see that there is some bamboo. Lots of bamboo throughout the island and on the hikes. Now coming up, you'll see a tall tree with its roots heavily exposed. At some point, it looks like perhaps this might come on down. Let's see that. Roots are exposed right there. Alright. Yeah, it looks like it's not too solid right there. At some point, I'd expect some sort of landslide along this. See that there's trees exposed right here. One tree is actually fallen. It's not too stable how wet it gets up here, and all of the erosion from the hikers. A lot of sides of the trail are destined to come down. Look at that root exposed right there. That's a large root. So like mud steps right here. Slippery. Now some of the walls are actually solid rock and not just dirt. They give some comfort. We're still on a slight incline, so it is some work. Not nearly as easy as it was before. Look at that beautiful. You can see way out yonder, you see, I believe that's Pearl Harbor. Right there, Pearl Harbor. And this valley right here, this goes like in a V shape. You can see the ocean back that way. You can see Pearl Harbor. Beautiful. So watch out for these steps right here. Still climbing incline. Slow. Scenic area right here. Small but scenic. exposed right here. Look at that. It's a cool looking tree right here. So this hike is quite a long, it says about 2 to 3 hours, this hike. So though it's not very challenging when it comes to going up super steep slopes, the length of the hike is quite enough to make it worth while. Well, this is really slippery, so you have to be careful because you could take a tumble down there. Probably won't be the end of you, but you might get injured. Let's see, take a look at this slippery trail. See, it's packed, compact mud. Very compact, but slippery. See here, trees, a lot of trees have fallen onto the trail, but due to the maintenance, they have cleared this up quite well. Walk this. Hear the birds, background. Don't know what birds do best. And that's bird. Coming along this part. Along the line. There's a massive tree that's fallen down out there. Look at that massive tree right here. Just gonna work my way around it. Under it. Mud steps coming up here. Slippery quite a bit.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Good, it's slippery.
Yeah. Looks like thick mud steps have been made. Look at that. They work. Slippery, but definitely there. Still going up a little bit. Now it's a moderate incline, not too difficult. There's a scenic area over there. I think I'm gonna check that out. Go up here. So along the way there's various lookouts that you can go to. This is going to be one of them. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, this is nice right here. Look at this. I believe that's H3 right there. Major highway. It's beautiful. Look at that. See how the clouds are touching the tops of the mountains. And the road goes through the mountain. Here's a little fun fact. H3 highway right there is the most expensive highway built per square foot in the world right there. And it's due to it having to wind through the valleys and cut through the mountains. Such a beautiful, beautiful view. And you get an extra something for you up here. Get up here. See it a little bit up here. Get a better view. I'm sure there's something a little bit more. There's another ledge over there. We can see part of more of the H3. So look at that. It's H3 with the mountains and the road cutting through the mountains and the clouds sitting on top of the mountains. I'm gonna go up here a little bit. it. It's the end of all the great views. Gonna work way back down, get on a trail. It's a grassy area, nice place to have a picnic of some sort. Gonna work our way down this part of the trail. You guys see it up there? It's very beautiful.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
H3 down there.
Yeah.
I was wondering where that picture for that from the trail. I was wondering where
Hey guys.
Yay. Again. So we're back on the trail. Get back on the trail. You don't realize how strong the wind is until you get back on the trail where the mountains block the wind from getting to you. Look how beautiful it is right here. It's a beautiful wooded hike all around. Let's work our way down.
H3, which goes essentially right through the middle of the
sorry.
mountain.
It's okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm
Oh,
so
it's
sorry.
okay. It's okay. That's H3 right there. Beautiful look. View. Beautiful.
So is it all up, or most of it up? Yeah. That's all. Yeah, 'cause when you go
So we're on the descent on this part. I'm not sure if it's going to take another ascent anytime soon, but like right now it's descending down the side of the mountain right next to H3. Perhaps you can hear the roar of the cars on H3. It's coming to the left. Now the significance with H3, we talked about how expensive it was to build, but it connects the northern part, a section of the northern part of the island with the southern part of the island. A crucial highway on the island of Oahu. See it a little bit right there. It's crucial that that stays open. Now there's other highways that connect north and south. You have the Poly Highway. You also have the Leaky. Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. And how you doing? You also have H2. Now there's 4 different. Gotta get a better view down here. There's 4 major highways that go north south. That's the Poly Highway, the Leaky Highway, the H2, I said Poly, right? And you have H3 right here, which is very, very beautiful highway to be on. So we're gonna get back on the trail. Get a better view of this up here. Let's have a better peek at it. Look at this. Somewhat. See the northern, or wait a minute, that's the southern part of the island right here. That's Pearl Harbor right there. And the highway goes this way and connects to the northern part of Oahu, the most populated island in Hawaii. Most of the time when people look at that, think of Hawaii, they don't realize that there's many islands in Hawaii, and a handful that actually are inhabited. The main islands are Oahu, that's the island we're on right now. You have Hawaii Island, also called Big Island. That's the largest island per square mile. Oahu is the island where most of the military bases are located, the most populated. It is also where the state capital is located. The Big Island, they have active volcanoes. Oahu doesn't have any active volcanoes, extinct volcanoes. Then there's Maui. Maui has active volcanoes. It's a very beautiful island. Beautiful sunsets on the island of Maui. You have the island of Kauai. This is another outlook. I'm going to take a peek at this. The island of Kauai is known as perhaps the most Jurassic-looking island, or the most beautiful island to be on. It's less populated than Maui, less populated than, it's not really much of a lookout, more populated, less populated than the Big Island, and of course less populated than Oahu. But Kauai is beautiful. It is the oldest of the islands. If I could express what Kauai is, it would be perhaps a cross between Maui and Oahu when it comes to being. No. Let me take that back. Backtrack. Maui is something between Kauai and Oahu. It's less populated than Oahu. But almost as beautiful as Kauai. Now don't get me wrong, Oahu is beautiful, has beautiful spots, but you have to keep in mind it's more populated, so you're going to run into people and sometimes the habits that people do as far as like trails that are perhaps frequented more. There's other populated islands. There's Molokai. Molokai is known as the island of lepers, because at one point in Molokai's, Hawaii's history, leprosy was prevalent, and what the people on the islands did at that time, they sent people who had leprosy. If you're not familiar with leprosy, it's disease. It's caused by bacteria, and it is infectious, or it can spread easily. So they would take people who had leprosy and put them on Molokai to go and live with the disease. Now, the disease lasts a long time. There was no cure for it at the time. So what they would do was send people to Molokai to live the rest of their lives amongst other people who had leprosy. If you ever have time, you should look it up. And then there's other islands. There is Lanai. Lanai is an island which is mostly owned, or a good portion of it is owned, by a tech CEO, a former tech CEO. I think he might just be a chairman now, of a company called Oracle. He purchased a big chunk of the island. The dog, the island.
Cool. All right.
Oh, excuse me. Thanks. Molokai, Lanai, and there's some other islands which I'm not forgetting. It just haven't come to my head yet. Hawaii has homes to some famous people. Oprah has a house, a home on Maui. Mark Zuckerberg, I believe, owns a home either on the Big Island or Hawaii Island, or either Maui. I can't quite remember. He caused somewhat of an uproar against Native Hawaiians because of his huge land purchase in Hawaii. And with him not being native, a lot of people didn't like the fact that he bought a home in Hawaii. There's other famous people who are from Hawaii. Dwayne Johnson, former WWF or WWE wrestler turned actor, played in Fast and the Furious and Moana, the movie. He is from Hawaii, or he has native roots in Hawaii, and he comes back here quite often. Other famous people such as Jason Momoa is from Hawaii. He comes back quite often. And if you didn't know, a famous, extremely famous pop star. Give you a chance to guess who that is from Hawaii. Give you another 5 seconds to guess who it is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In case you didn't guess it right, I'm going to tell you. In case you are just wondering who it is. Bruno Mars is from Hawaii. He's actually from the island of Oahu, the island that we're on right here. He's of Filipino descent, but he was born in Hawaii, in the Waikiki neighborhood of Hawaii. If you've ever been to Hawaii and on Oahu, Waikiki is the place where most tourists go. It's where many hotels are located. Beaches, beautiful beaches, nightlife, bars, clubs, all of that are located in Waikiki. And that's the neighborhood that Bruno Mars grew up in. It's just a fun fact. And there's many more people who are famous. Barack Obama, probably the most famous, if not Bruno Mars, was born in Hawaii on Oahu. The island that we're on right now is Oahu. Barack Obama, the 44th president, or 43rd president, 44th or 43rd, can't quite remember, or I can't. He grew up on Oahu, was raised here, and actually still has a house on Oahu. I believe his house is in the Kailua area, Kaneohe area of Oahu is where his house is, and he resides when he comes to the island. I'm not sure how much he resides on the island, but he does come back from time to time. Look at this tree. Always fascinated by the bark, the sap that's coming off of it. There with white bark. Don't know exactly what it is, but very, very nice. I want to call them paper trees because it looks like the outside is wrapped in a thin sheet of paper. Just gonna keep on walking around. We're descending some down on the trail. It's a nice descent, very gradual. I see some more of those artificial mud steps, which are slippery, but still able to work my way down the part of the trail. You see right here, it's a tree that has fallen, and the maintenance staff have come up and cut a path to go through. It's still muddy all around the trail. Working your way. You can see that slippery, very slippery right here. Be careful because you could take a tumble down there if you're not careful with this slippery part of the trail. I'm taking baby steps up the trail. Still goes on. So I've been on the trail for about an hour so far. At some point I'm just going to take a break, a water break. There's another stump that's fallen. This is a longer tree right here. Check this out right here. So this is a longer tree that has fallen. It's been quite some time, and the reason why I can tell is because you can see where it's fallen. You can see it starting to sink inside of the mud. Get you a view of that. It's starting to sink inside of the mud. So it's been there for quite some time. I'm not sure why they didn't try to clear this, other than it's offering somewhat of support to keep the hill from eroding right here. See that? It's starting to erode right here, and the tree and its roots that are still in there somewhat are allowing this hill to stay put and not slide down. Let's keep on going. You'll see other areas where the trees were not so lucky, ended up getting cut to make way for the trail riders. We'll walk through this. So this is about a 3-hour hike, 2.5, 3-hour hike. We're already just 1 hour in, working away. Very beautiful. Starting to warm up somewhat, but as you can see up, it is shaded. Heavily shaded, well, not heavily shaded, well shaded hike for those of you who want to avoid the sun, whether it's because you've gotten too much sunburn or sun since you've been out here, or whether you just want to stay protected all around. Now, one thing, on most of the island, year-round, it's usually pretty sunny most times of the year. You got it?
Thank you.
No problem. It's mostly muddy or sunny most of the year. So you get a lot of sun if you're here, if you live here, or even if you're just visiting, you'll get a lot of sun. So you'll probably try to protect yourself and go on a hike, if you want to go on a hike, choosing a shaded hike such as this one. Or if you like hikes that aren't shaded, perhaps going on those in the beginning of the day, right at sunrise, or in the evening near sunset. That way you lessen your exposure to the sun. One thing about the islands is that they can have different climates, and I'll explain that to you a little bit. So like on the islands, you have a windward side and a leeward side. And what that means is the windward side is where the wind touches the island first, or whichever direction the wind is blowing or the jet stream is going. And it brings moisture with it, clouds, whatever. And on the windward side is the side that gets hit the first with the winds coming from off of the Pacific Ocean. And this region, part of the world, the windward side on all of the islands is the eastern part of the islands. And so if you're traveling on the island and you go to the eastern part of the island, on all of the islands, it'll have more moisture in the air, more humidity, generally speaking. There's other factors that come into play, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But you'll notice that the eastern side of the islands are generally more lush, more green. And as you work your way west, you'll notice that the western part of the islands are dry and somewhat desert looking. Now there's exceptions to the rule. There are mountains and valleys. The mountains, higher, closer to the clouds, get a lot of moisture, therefore they look lush. And then there's valleys that somehow have their own weather system to where it could be a few degrees cooler or warmer. Greater or lesser percentage of humidity that play in to how much moisture that part of the island gets. So one of the things I was told about Oahu, or most of the islands, is that if it rains where you are, you could drive to the other side of the island and find it dry and perhaps sunny for the most part. But there are times where things such as storms come in or hurricanes and the entire islands are raining or either dry. Speaking of hurricanes, you don't think of hurricanes when you think of Hawaii too much, but hurricanes do happen in the region. Rarely do they actually make landfall. When you think of hurricanes, you generally think of southeastern United States. You think of typhoons such as in Asia. But you don't think of hurricanes when you think of Hawaii because they don't happen that often to where they actually make landfall. But they do happen in the region quite often during hurricane season. The last big hurricane that made significant damage to Hawaii was perhaps 20, 30 years ago, I think. And it was devastating. I think there is a hotel in on the island of Maui that was destroyed due to the hurricane. But since that time, I don't think there has been a very significant hurricane that has happened to Hawaii. While we're on the subject of weather, one thing about Hawaii is, though it's subtropic, rarely do you hear thunder or see lightning. If you see a flash in the sky, it's perhaps just fireworks. People have fireworks out here. But it does not thunder or lightning quite often. And the reasoning behind that is that thunder and lightning happen when you have friction between cold and hot air. They come together and they cause thunder and lightning. An exception to that could be if there is a volcano eruption and there is a significant amount of ash. There has been known to have lightning in the ash. I'll get back on that subject, but I want you to see this large tree that has fallen right here. It's fairly large. It's going to take quite the effort to clear this down. That's probably why it seems like it's been sitting there for a while and no one has cut it down. So, about the lightning, so when there's ash in the air, the ash is rock dust, a significant amount of rock dust. That's what the ash is. Goes in the air, and it creates friction, causing thunder and lightning. So that's about the weather. Let's talk about earthquakes. Earthquakes happen quite often in Hawaii, but are felt more on some islands rather than others. And the reason why that is not because of necessarily or directly the shifting tectonic plates, which causes earthquakes traditionally, but rather the movement of magma from the volcanoes, not just magma, but gases, water that's all deep in the earth under the volcanoes. When there's movement, sometimes it causes earthquakes that can be felt in the area of the volcano as well as around the islands. You'll get earthquakes. Seems like we're descending quite a bit. Not a steep descent, but been descending for quite a while, so perhaps maybe this is the easier part, or the part where it's less difficult. Seems to be less stress on the legs going down now. And it seems like it's going to be easy for quite a while. And at this point, I'm just going to take a break and perhaps charge up the battery. and get back with part 2. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and continue the walk. See that there's other lookouts up there. This is offbeat. I think I might try to take a look at that up there. See what this lookout is. There's quite a bit, and so you don't necessarily have to do all of the lookouts. Some of them, specifically the H3 lookout that we saw back yonder, it's magnificent. Now this is off the beaten path. Looks like perhaps I should not be on it, and if I hadn't come this far I probably wouldn't do it, because it looks like there's some erosion happening right here. I'd say partially perhaps due to people taking this path. And just go out, look at this. We'll have a better view of Pearl Harbor. It's quite the view out there. There's H3 as it winds up and goes through the mountains. And then you have Pearl Harbor, perhaps in that direction somewhat. There's the airport. Probably can't see it from there. Looks like there's a pink ribbon right there. One thing about trail, you'll notice that pink ribbons usually indicate this is where you go. It's leading to the high-powered power line. I'm not sure that ribbon was put there on purpose. It looks like some sort of trail. You should stay away from power lines like this. It looks like the trail is right there. And it'll lead us back to where we need to go. I believe. Looks like something, but perhaps I should backtrack. There are the pink ribbons. Let's follow the trail. And it indeed leads back the main trail. Now it seems. Looks like a missing dog. It says Pippa. It's missing. I'm gonna go ahead, go back this way to get back to the main trail that we're on. Bird chirping. seeing on this part of the trail a lot of pine trees. If you notice this particular pine right here, this is what they call the Hawaiian Christmas tree. It's not native to Hawaii, but this type of tree is used to make Christmas trees around Christmas time. Almost looks like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, but it does have a unique look to it. It has become known as the Hawaiian Christmas tree because with that tree they set it up just like the traditional Christmas tree that we've come to know. It looks like I'm off the beaten path, and hopefully this leads back to a main trail. If not, may have to backtrack or work the way down the valley, because where we came from, the trail was down the valley down there. Let's see, it looks like some sort of split up here. And one way you can tell is how there's missing dirt. And the main trail is down that way, but it seems like we can connect to it through this way. Go ahead and try this. And my thoughts are that it will connect back to the main trail that is to the right, lower right. And it seems to be some split. There's less leaves on the trail to the right. So I'm going to go this way, and I can see down through the trees that the main trail is down that way. So at some point, I'm thinking that it's going to link up. And so I'm going to keep on going down this. And if it comes to a dead end, I know just to walk on down that way. But for now, I'm staying at the top of this, right up here. I'm starting to descend, and my thoughts are that it's coming to a connection to the main trail. Oh, look at this. See the pine right here? Has sap growing out of it. Pretty cool. I often wonder how, over time, pine trees will evolve to being in this climate. I wonder if they'll somehow stop producing as much sap as they do, due to perhaps not a need for the type of sap in a tropical environment. If you ever notice, if you ever had firewood or a fire, a campfire, you'll notice that it's a little bit less difficult to keep. There's the path down there. We're going to make our way down there, the main path. It's easier to keep pine trees or trees with a lot of sap in it going. It's less effort to keep it ignited. And it's due to the sap that is in the tree. And if you ever notice in tropical areas, the trees are harder to ignite and more difficult to keep going due to it not having the oil that sap has inside of it. So to remember those Christmas trees that I was talking about, if you look up, these trees get quite tall. And when they get tall like that, people just cut the tops of them off and use those as Christmas trees. But when they're small, you can use perhaps the entire tree. Still descending. Now, what I talked about earlier is when you get off the beaten path, when you get off the main path, you get off some other path, get onto some other path. A lot of times that happens because someone perhaps wanted to see something, a scenic view, or perhaps they just wandered off and got lost a little bit. But the key to getting back on to the correct path, or some tips to get on the correct path, is to look at the ground and see how much the path has been taken. If it is, you can see the ground, then you notice that someone has gone there, frequented it a lot, and not just a one-off or a few people. Similar to how you see this path right. Similar to this path right here. Do you see how you can see the ground is exposed? If you can see roots that are exposed, you know it's a path, a main path that you perhaps need to be on. If there's leaves, and it looks like it hasn't been traveled a lot because the leaves are there and the leaves accumulate and it looks like no one has traveled down there in quite a bit, you may be on the wrong path and perhaps look around. For instance, look around for those pink ribbons which indicate perhaps the path that you should be on. And there's a tree in the middle of the path right here. I try to navigate around that. Looks like it may have fallen recently. Go under it. Here's another one. We've been descending for quite a while. It's relatively easy. Still some hazards with the slippery ground, the mud that's been compacted. Still manageable to walk on. There's it's relatively flat, not too heavy. Good morning. These have compacted down right here, giving some form of traction. Just gonna make our way through this. So as we descend, it feels as if it's becoming more humid. I'm just going to keep on going. It's more humid. I can feel it against my skin. When hiking, almost as if you can go through different climates while hiking. So far, it's been sunny. It's been cloudy. It's been rainy. It has not been dry, but it has been more humid as of right now. Look at this, this little dip valley right here. Looks like it's sometimes a stream. That happens right here. Probably needs some rainfall for a stream actually to be streaming. That's probably why they have a rope right here so people can hold on to so they don't slip on the rocks that have been put right here. It's very slippery right here. Just gonna keep on going. Feel the rain coming. It rained a second, and then it stopped. It's a beautiful moment right here. Thoughts, memories, and raindrops. Some windy action. It's beautiful bamboo canopy. Actually, that's not bamboo. Well, yeah, it is bamboo. Canopy. Going through this. Humid. Birds chirping. Sometimes the bamboo can grow so thick, it almost seems like it's evening. Now we are ascending now, a little bit more effort. So we took a dip down. When I dipped, you dipped, we dipped. And now we're going uphill a little bit. So it's a little bit more effort, but not too strenuous. It's huge. Tree stump. It's falling right here. Working away up. Luckily there are some stones that prevent erosion and also work as a step. Look at this step right here. This is a mud step. It was created by the staff. Look at that. To maintain the area. It's going to work the way up. Just gonna go up. There's another lookout right here. Not much of a lookout. But you can see through the trees some. Alright, made it to a flat area. Catch your breath, rest the legs. Active resting. I don't know if it's going to have to go back up or deal with a steep decline. It's a wider part of the trail right here. Coming up on the grassy, I believe. Coming up on the end of the trail. I believe that's the end of it. Looks like a picnic area. And bathrooms. So that was the end of the trail. Took about 2 hours or so. Not a bit less. Alright, I have to do that quite fast. It's a good hike. Have a good night.